I'm Madison Reynolds, 28, and I've always been the family disappointment. Growing up between my surgeon brother and concert violinist sister, I became invisible despite my financial success. Last Thanksgiving, my mother Eleanor, draped in the designer clothes I secretly paid for, looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're the most useless child we have." She didn't realize the country club membership she flaunted, the Mercedes she drove, and the luxury vacation she'd just returned from, all secretly funded by her useless daughter. That night, I decided it was finally time to show my family exactly who had been keeping their lifestyle afloat. If you're watching this, drop a comment letting me know where you're viewing from, hit that subscribe button, and stick around to see how I finally stood up for myself after years of silent support. I grew up in Brookline, an affluent Boston suburb where appearances meant everything. Our colonial home with its manicured lawn projected the perfect image my mother desperately maintained. From the outside, we embodied the American dream. My father Richard's surgical practice thrived, my mother Eleanor reigned as a former beauty queen turned socialite, and my siblings excelled in ways that made parental bragging effortless. My older brother Ethan was the golden child from the start. For years my senior, he inherited our father's analytical mind and steady hands. By middle school, he dissected frogs with surgical precision while Dad nodded approvingly over his shoulder. Their bond formed around shared medical ambitions, Ethan's path to medical school predestined since he could pronounce stethoscope. Dad poured his knowledge into Ethan during dinners where they discussed medical journals while Mother beamed proudly. My younger sister Amber emerged as a prodigy when she picked up a violin at age 5. Her natural talent blossomed under expensive private lessons Mother scheduled 3 times weekly. By 12, Amber performed with regional orchestras, her delicate features concentrated in perfect form as her bow danced across strings. Mother attended every recital, shooting venomous glares at anyone who dared whisper during performances. Then there was me, solidly average Madison. Not academically gifted like Ethan nor artistically talented like Amber. My report cards featured B's with occasional A's that never generated excitement. I wasn't athletic enough for scholarships or musically inclined enough for conservatory dreams. Instead, I possessed practical intelligence that went unnoticed. From young age, I displayed business acumen that my family dismissed as trivial. My coin collection organized by mint marks and years, my lemonade stand that expanded into 3 neighborhood locations with hired neighborhood kids as employees, my systematic approach to babysitting that turned into a booking service by high school, all ignored as Mother focused on Amber's competitions and Dad mentored Ethan's medical aspirations. "Madison, sit up straight," Mother would snap during dinner parties. "No one wants to hear about your little business ideas." "Amber, darling, tell Mrs. Whitaker about your upcoming audition." Our family dynamic operated on a carefully calibrated system of favoritism. Mother orchestrated comparisons that ensured Ethan and Amber recognized their superior status while I understood my place. Dad remained emotionally distant, arriving home after dinner most nights, retreating to his study with medical journals and whiskey. His rare moments of engagement centered on Ethan's academic achievements or Amber's musical development. For me, he managed occasional distracted nods when I spoke. I tried countless strategies to win their approval. I joined the debate team, Mother complained about driving me to tournaments, attempted violin lessons, the instructor suggested perhaps another instrument. Considered pre-med courses, Dad mumbled something about medical school being too competitive for average students. Each effort met with subtle or explicit messaging. I wasn't special enough to warrant their investment. The pivotal moment came during my 7th grade spring recital. After 6 months of piano lessons, my attempt to connect with Amber's musical world, I prepared Beethoven's for Elise. I practiced relentlessly, fingers cramping as I repeated difficult passages. The night of the recital, wearing the navy dress Mother reluctantly purchased, I took my place at the grand piano under fluorescent auditorium lights. As I began playing, I spotted Mother's critical gaze. My fingers froze mid-measure. The silence stretched painfully as I tried to remember the notes. After 3 restart attempts, I mumbled an apology and fled the stage, tears burning my cheeks. In the car afterward, Mother didn't speak until we pulled into our driveway. I knew you'd embarrass us, she sighed. This is why we focus on Amber's talents. Some people simply aren't meant for the spotlight. Later that evening, I overheard her on the phone. Madison simply doesn't have the Reynolds gift. Thank goodness for Ethan and Amber. That night, staring at my bedroom ceiling, the narrative solidified in my 12-year-old mind: I wasn't good enough. Not talented enough. Not special enough. The understanding settled deep in my bones, a foundation upon which my relationship with my family would build for years to come. Instead of breaking me, this realization sparked something unexpected: resilience. If I couldn't win their approval through conventional achievements, I'd find my own path. I stopped trying to mimic my siblings and began exploring what actually interested me. The pain of rejection gradually transformed into independence that would ultimately become my greatest strength, though it would take years before I recognized its value. High school intensified the contrast between my siblings and me. Ethan graduated valedictorian before heading to Johns Hopkins pre-med program with a scholarship. Mother framed his acceptance letter in the living room. Amber, despite being 3 years younger than me, already performed with the Boston Youth Symphony and fielded calls from scouts representing prestigious music conservatories. Meanwhile, I navigated public school corridors as thoroughly unremarkable according to family standards. My transcript showed solid B+ average with A's in business and economics courses that neither parent acknowledged. I joined the entrepreneurship club, finding comfort among similarly practical-minded students who valued spreadsheets over spotlights. During sophomore year, I discovered my analytical abilities in Ms. Jenkins' economics class. Unlike my parents, she noticed my aptitude for financial concepts. Madison, this market analysis is college-level work, she said, returning my project with an A+. Have you considered business school? That simple validation changed everything. I began staying after class, absorbing everything Ms. Jenkins shared about economic theory and investment principles. She lent me books on financial literacy and entrepreneurship that I devoured overnight. You have a natural gift for seeing patterns in numbers, she told me. Not everyone can visualize financial flows like you do. With her encouragement, I launched my first real business venture junior year, custom planners designed specifically for high-achieving students juggling multiple activities. I researched productivity systems, created templates, and convinced the print shop downtown to produce my designs at bulk discount. Within 3 months, I sold planners to half the student body and 2 neighboring schools. When I proudly showed Mother my first $2,000 profit, she glanced at my product and shrugged. How nice that you found a crafty hobby, she said, immediately turning conversation to Amber's upcoming audition for Juilliard's summer program. Dad didn't even look up from his medical journal. My senior year brought the college decision process. I applied to several business programs, focusing on schools with strong finance departments. When acceptance letters arrived, including one from State University with a partial merit scholarship for their business program, I felt genuinely proud. Mother's reaction crushed that momentary joy. State University? I can't tell the garden club my daughter attends a public college, she lamented. Couldn't you at least try for something with a name people recognize? Your brother got into Johns Hopkins. When I explained that State's finance program ranked among the top 20 nationally, Dad finally joined the conversation, with his checkbook conspicuously absent. We've set aside college funds for programs with proven return on investment, he stated clinically. Medical school for Ethan, conservatory for Amber. Business degrees from state schools don't justify the expense. That night, I made 2 decisions that would alter my life trajectory. I would attend State University without their financial support, and I would prove my worth through financial success they couldn't dismiss. I worked 30 hours weekly at a local bank throughout college while carrying a full course load. My apartment, shared with Kayla Williams, a marketing major who became my closest friend, barely qualified as habitable, but we made it work. Unlike my family, Kayla recognized my strengths and encouraged my ambitions. Your parents are idiots for not seeing what you're capable of, she'd say during late-night study sessions. Someday they'll regret underestimating you. College transformed me. Away from my family's shadow, my confidence bloomed. I excelled in finance and investment courses, earning recommendations from professors impressed by my analytical skills. Sophomore year, I landed a competitive internship with Boston Capital Advisors, impressing managers enough that they offered part-time work during subsequent semesters. Still, during holiday visits home, I reverted to the invisible middle child. Mother displayed Amber's concert programs prominently on the refrigerator while relegating my Dean's List certificate to a kitchen drawer. Dad asked Ethan detailed questions about medical rotations but showed polite disinterest in my internship experience. My college graduation should have marked a turning point. I graduated magna cum laude with job offers from 3 investment firms. My thesis on emerging market opportunities in sustainable energy received departmental honors. For once, I thought, they might acknowledge my accomplishments. I spotted my family in the audience as I crossed the stage, Mother checking her watch, Dad scrolling through emails on his phone. They attended out of obligation, not pride. At the post-ceremony gathering, I overheard Mother talking to my aunt while gesturing toward Amber. "At least one daughter has real talent," she said, unaware I stood within earshot. "Madison's just focused on making money, not exactly requiring special gifts." The comment stung but crystallized my resolve. If financial success was perceived as my lesser path, I would excel so dramatically they couldn't possibly minimize my achievements. I would build wealth and influence that even my status-obsessed mother couldn't dismiss. I accepted the highest-paying job offer in Boston, partly to prove myself and partly to remain geographically connected to the family that still, despite everything, I desperately wanted to impress. My entry-level position at Blackstone Wealth Management started 1 month after graduation. The gleaming downtown Boston office tower housed some of the financial industry's most ambitious professionals. As the newest junior analyst, I arrived first each morning and left last each night, absorbing everything from investment strategy to client relationship management. My starting salary felt substantial after college poverty, $65,000 plus performance bonuses, but paled compared to what senior managers earned. Still, I rented a tiny studio apartment in a decent neighborhood and built my professional wardrobe piece by piece from consignment shops. Mother seemed thoroughly unimpressed during our monthly family dinners. Playing with spreadsheets all day, she commented when Aunt Patricia asked about my new job. "Ethan saved a child's life during his residency last week, and Amber's quartet is performing at the Kennedy Center this spring." I swallowed my frustration and focused on work. While my peers socialized after hours, I researched market trends and volunteered for additional projects. My first performance review surprised even my manager, Marcus Williams. "Madison, your analysis of the renewable energy sector identified opportunities our senior staff missed," he noted. "We implemented your recommendations and generated substantial returns for several key clients." My promotion to analyst came 9 months into the job, a company record. The accompanying salary increase allowed me to start repaying my substantial student loans while building my first investment portfolio. I developed expertise in sustainable energy companies, building a reputation for spotting overlooked opportunities in the emerging green economy. Rachel Montgomery, one of the firm's few female executives, took notice of my work ethic. At 45, Rachel had navigated the male-dominated finance industry with calculated precision, breaking barriers without appearing to notice them. She began inviting me to client meetings, mentoring me through the unwritten rules of corporate advancement. "The men here will work hard," she advised during one lunch, "but you'll need to work twice as hard while making it look effortless. Never let them see you sweat, never remind them you're different, and never apologize for your ambition." With Rachel's guidance, I advanced to senior analyst by 25, another unprecedented achievement at Blackstone. My client list grew, as did my reputation for identifying profitable investments others overlooked. My salary hit 6 figures, with bonuses that nearly doubled my annual compensation. I purchased designer clothes, though not as expensive as Mother's, leased a luxury apartment overlooking the harbor, and began building serious investment portfolios beyond my company retirement plan. Financial publications quoted my market analyses. Industry conferences invited me to speak on sustainable investment panels. Yet during this professional ascent, an unexpected family development pulled me back into old dynamics. Dad called one evening, rare enough that I immediately suspected something was wrong. "Madison, I need to discuss a delicate matter," he began, voice uncharacteristically tentative. "There's been a situation with the practice. A malpractice claim. Insurance is covering most of it, but we're facing some temporary financial adjustments." The carefully constructed explanation couldn't hide the truth. My father's surgical practice faced serious financial trouble. Further conversation revealed he'd made investment mistakes, the malpractice insurance rates had skyrocketed, and the family's financial stability had deteriorated. "Your mother doesn't fully understand the situation," he added. "I'd appreciate your discretion while I resolve these issues." I agreed to help review their finances, discovering problems far worse than Dad admitted. Their mortgage showed 3 missed payments. Credit card statements revealed Mother's spending remained unchanged despite their circumstances. Ethan's medical school loans carried exorbitant interest rates. Amber's conservatory tuition remained unpaid for the current semester. After careful consideration, I set up automatic payments for their mortgage from my personal account. I consolidated and refinanced Ethan's student loans. I paid Amber's outstanding tuition balance. All without their knowledge, respecting Dad's request for discretion. 2 weeks later, Mother called with an invitation to Sunday dinner, suddenly interested in my company after months of minimal contact. The family gathering featured Mother boasting about their upcoming vacation and Dad seeming mysteriously relieved. Neither acknowledged the financial rescue I'd orchestrated behind the scenes. When dinner conversation turned to investments, I carefully suggested some strategies Dad might consider for recovery. Mother's dismissive laugh cut through the dining room. "What would you know about real money, Madison? Your father has managed our finances perfectly for decades." Dad stared at his plate, saying nothing as Mother continued. "Investment analysts just follow market trends anyone could see. Real financial security comes from building something substantial like your father's medical practice." The irony burned as I nodded politely, knowing my latest bank transfer had prevented their home from entering foreclosure proceedings. That night established the pattern that would define our relationship for years to come. I provided financial support they desperately needed while they maintained the fiction of my father's continued success and my relative insignificance. I told myself I was helping family through temporary hardship. I never anticipated becoming the secret foundation beneath my parents' carefully maintained facade. What began as temporary financial assistance evolved into systematic family support over the next 3 years. I created a separate account dedicated to family expenses, allocating a significant portion of my growing income to maintain their lifestyle while preserving their illusion of independence. Dad's practice stabilized somewhat but never returned to its former profitability. Medical industry changes, increased insurance costs, and his tarnished reputation following the malpractice case created permanent financial constraints. Yet Mother's lifestyle expectations never adjusted to this new reality. I covered their property taxes when notices arrived showing delinquent payments. I paid off Mother's credit card balances when she casually mentioned annoying calls from card companies. When their 15-year-old luxury sedan needed expensive repairs, I suggested they consider a new vehicle, then arranged financing and made the down payment for Mother's new Mercedes, setting up automatic monthly payments from my account. The country club membership they'd maintained since before my birth faced cancellation due to unpaid dues. Dad mentioned this during a rare phone call, voice strained with embarrassment. I took care of the outstanding balance plus a year advance, knowing how central the club remained to Mother's social identity. My support extended beyond my parents. Ethan completed his residency but struggled to find the prestigious hospital position he'd anticipated. During this employment gap, I sent regular investment returns I claimed were from a medical technology stock I'd purchased in his name years earlier. In reality, I created the fictional investment to help him maintain apartment payments and student loan obligations without damaging his pride. Amber faced the harsh reality confronting many talented musicians: extraordinary skill didn't guarantee financial stability. After conservatory graduation, she pieced together income from teaching lessons, occasional symphony performances, and wedding quartet appearances. When she tearfully confessed she might need to abandon music for steadier employment, I established a private scholarship through an arts organization where I volunteered. The quarterly payments, actually drawn from my personal account, allowed her to continue pursuing her passion while building her musical career. These financial arrangements extracted an increasingly problematic toll on my personal life. I canceled a planned European vacation when Dad mentioned upcoming property insurance increases. I delayed purchasing my own condominium, continuing to rent despite Boston's favorable buyer's market, because Amber needed emergency dental surgery not covered by her limited insurance. Trevor Bennett, the architectural engineer I'd been dating for nearly 2 years, struggled to understand my financial priorities. "I don't get it, Mads," he said during dinner at his apartment after I mentioned postponing our weekend getaway. "You make more money than anyone I know, but you live like you're on a budget from the 90s. "I have investment priorities," I explained vaguely. "Building long-term security." "But you're putting off your own life. That condo you loved sold because you wouldn't make an offer. We canceled Napa Valley because of some mysterious work obligation. Something doesn't add up." After several similar conversations, I finally revealed the complete picture of my family's financial dependence. Trevor's reaction shifted from confusion to disbelief to concern. "They criticize your career while secretly living off your success?" he asked, incredulous. "And you just take it? The Madison I know stands her ground in million-dollar negotiations but can't tell her mother the truth?" His questions forced uncomfortable self-examination. I began weekly therapy sessions with Dr. Phillips, working through childhood dynamics that had created my conflicting needs for both independence and parental approval. "Financial support without boundaries allows dysfunctional patterns to continue," Dr. Phillips noted during one session. "You're enabling behavior that ultimately harms both you and your family." I recognized the truth in her assessment but couldn't bring myself to disrupt the arrangement. Some deep-seated part of me still believed that if I provided enough support, if I proved my worth conclusively enough, my parents, especially Mother, would finally acknowledge my value. This delusion shattered during Mother's 60th birthday celebration. I spent weeks planning the event, working with her favorite restaurant to create an elegant private party for 30 guests. I selected her gift carefully, a designer bracelet she'd admired in a magazine, and covered all expenses for the evening totaling nearly $15,000. During dinner, Mother offered a heartfelt speech thanking everyone for celebrating her special day. She praised Ethan for following his father's noble medical calling, applauded Amber for bringing beauty into the world through music, and acknowledged Dad for providing the wonderful life that made everything possible. My contribution received a brief mention as helping with arrangements. Later, while Mother chatted with her friends near the dessert table, I overheard her response when someone asked about my career. "Madison's job pays the bills, I suppose," she said with a dismissive wave. "She's just never lived up to her potential." I stood frozen, champagne glass in hand, as the truth crystallized with perfect clarity. No amount of financial support would ever earn her respect or acknowledgement. In her eyes, I would always be the underachieving middle child, regardless of my professional success or the thousands of dollars I contributed monthly to maintain her comfortable lifestyle. That night marked the beginning of my emotional detachment from the family dynamic I'd enabled for years. I continued the financial support temporarily but began consulting with my financial advisor about establishing clear boundaries and a timeline for ending the arrangement. I never anticipated the breaking point would arrive quite so dramatically or publicly as it eventually did. Thanksgiving arrived with Boston's first snow dusting the city in pristine white. I had reason for genuine celebration. Blackstone had just named me Vice President of Sustainable Investments, making me the youngest VP in company history. The promotion came with substantial salary increases, equity options, and expanded management responsibilities. For once, I felt truly proud without qualification. This achievement couldn't be dismissed as luck or merely playing with money. I had built something substantial through intelligence, strategic thinking, and relentless work ethic. Even Mother would need to acknowledge this accomplishment. I prepared carefully for the family dinner, bringing the promotion letter, a bottle of expensive champagne, and financial documents organized in a discreet folder, just in case the conversation required evidence of my contributions. The documents detailed 5 years of family support, mortgage payments, country club dues, car payments, credit card balances, and educational expenses. I didn't plan to reveal this information but felt more confident knowing it was available if necessary. Mother greeted me at the door with an air kiss that carefully avoided contact. "Madison, there you are. Help your father with the wine. Amber's just arrived with news about her symphony audition." I entered the familiar living room where graduation photos of Ethan and Amber dominated the mantel. My college graduation image sat on a side table, partially obscured by a floral arrangement. The house smelled of roasting turkey and Mother's signature sage stuffing, comfort foods that somehow increased my anxiety. Dad poured wines with slightly unsteady hands while Ethan helped arrange appetizers. Amber sat at the piano, playing a gentle classical piece that created perfect background ambience. Everything appeared normal on the surface, though I noticed subtle signs of financial strain. The living room furniture showed where Mother would typically never tolerate, and her usually fresh flower arrangements had been replaced with quality silk alternatives. Dinner conversation followed predictable patterns. Ethan described challenging cases from the community hospital that had finally hired him, though not the prestigious position he'd originally sought. Mother interrupted frequently with admiring questions. Amber detailed her upcoming audition for associate concertmaster with a regional orchestra, while Mother offered suggestions about proper audition attire. I waited for a natural opening to share my news, sipping wine and nodding at appropriate intervals. When conversation momentarily lulled during the main course, I took my opportunity. "I have some exciting news to share," I began, unable to suppress a smile. "Blackstone named me Vice President of Sustainable Investments yesterday." Mother glanced up briefly. "That's nice, dear. Amber, tell everyone about the quartet performance at the governor's mansion." "Actually," I continued more firmly, "this is a significant achievement. I'm the youngest VP in company history. The position includes equity partnership and—" "Madison," Mother interrupted with a tight smile, "we understand you're doing well at your job. Not everyone can have real talent, but it's good you're being recognized for your efforts." The table fell silent. Amber stared at her plate while Ethan shifted uncomfortably. "What exactly does that mean?" I asked, my voice surprisingly steady despite the familiar hurt blooming in my chest. "Just that we're all proud of you for finding your little niche," Mother replied, cutting her turkey into precise pieces. "Not everyone can cure diseases like Ethan or create beautiful music like Amber. Some people are simply meant for more practical contributions." Dad cleared his throat. "Eleanor, I think Madison's achievement deserves recognition. Vice President is quite impressive." Mother's dismissive laugh sliced through his half-hearted defense. "Richard, please. We both know corporate titles are handed out like participation trophies these days. It's hardly comparable to saving lives or mastering an art form." I placed my fork carefully beside my plate. "Do you appreciate anything I contribute to this family?" The direct question startled Mother, momentarily disrupting her composed facade. "What an odd question," she replied. "Of course we appreciate you, despite your perpetual need for validation. You've always been so sensitive about your place in the family." "My place?" I repeated quietly. "Well, darling, we can't all be exceptional. Someone has to be ordinary." She sipped her wine before delivering the final blow. "If I'm being honest, you're the most useless child we have. But that doesn't mean we don't love you." The dining room fell absolutely silent. Even Mother seemed momentarily shocked by her explicit articulation of the sentiment she'd implied throughout my life. Dad attempted damage control. "Eleanor, that's completely inappropriate. Madison has a very successful—" "It's fine, Dad," I interrupted, my voice unnaturally calm as I stood. "Would everyone please stay seated? I need to get something from my car." I walked outside into the cold November air, breathing deeply to maintain composure. The folder waited on my passenger seat, containing 5 years of financial records meticulously organized by my executive assistant. I returned to the dining room where my family waited in uncomfortable silence. Before we continue this conversation about my uselessness, I said, retaking my seat, I think we should review some information. I opened the folder and removed the first document, a spreadsheet summarizing 5 years of financial support totaling just over $1.2 million. This represents my contributions to this family since Dad's practice encountered temporary difficulties, I began, using air quotes around his euphemism. I've organized the expenses by category and recipient for clarity. Mother's face registered confusion followed by emerging horror as she processed my words. Dad stared at his plate, shoulders hunched forward. Ethan and Amber exchanged bewildered glances. What exactly are you implying? Mother demanded, voice sharp with defensiveness. I removed the mortgage documentation and slid it across the table. I've made 37 mortgage payments on this house over the past 3 years, totaling $426,000 including the property tax payments. Without these contributions, you would have faced foreclosure in 2020. Dad finally looked up. Madison, this isn't appropriate dinner conversation. We can discuss financial matters privately. When would that discussion occur, Dad? Between Mother's criticisms of my career and your silent enablement? I continued methodically sorting documents. These records show 3 years of country club membership dues totaling $83,000. The membership would have been revoked without my payments. Mother's complexion had paled dramatically, her hand trembling slightly around her wine glass. I don't know what you're talking about. Your father handles our finances. With significant assistance, I corrected, presenting the next document. These credit card statements show $147,000 in payments covering Mother's personal shopping, spa treatments, and social events. I've highlighted the Neiman Marcus charges for the outfit you're wearing right now. Amber's eyes widened. Maddie, are you saying you've been paying for family expenses all this time? Not just expenses, I clarified. I've been maintaining the lifestyle Mother believes essential to her social standing, the standing she uses to diminish my career while simultaneously benefiting from it. I turned to Ethan, whose expression reflected growing comprehension. The investment returns you've received quarterly weren't from medical technology stocks. There are no stocks. Those payments came directly from my personal account to help you through residency and your employment gap. Ethan's face flushed with embarrassment. I had no idea. You told me it was investment income. Because I knew you wouldn't accept direct financial help, I explained. Your pride wouldn't allow it, just as Mother's pride won't allow her to acknowledge the source of her comfortable lifestyle. The doorbell interrupted the tense confrontation. Mother's bridge club friends had arrived for scheduled dessert, completely unaware of the family drama unfolding in the dining room. We'll continue this later, Mother hissed, composing her features into a practiced smile as she rose to greet her guests. No, I stated firmly. We'll finish now. Your friends can wait in the living room. Something in my tone must have communicated absolute determination because Mother sank back into her chair and nodded weakly to Dad, who went to explain the delay to their guests. I continued through each category of financial support: Amber's scholarship payments, Mother's car lease, Dad's malpractice insurance supplements, family vacations charged to my accounts, medical expenses, and countless other costs absorbed into my budget over 5 years. I didn't share this information to embarrass anyone, I clarified as I completed the financial overview. I've happily supported this family because I love you all. What I cannot accept is the continued pretense that my contributions, professional and financial, are somehow less valuable than everyone else's. I turned directly to Mother, meeting her gaze without flinching. For years, I've sought your approval through every possible avenue. I excelled in school, built a remarkable career, achieved financial success beyond anyone's expectations, and silently funded the lifestyle you present as evidence of Dad's continued prosperity. Yet none of this has altered your perception of me as somehow deficient. Mother attempted to interrupt, but I raised my hand. I'm not finished. Tonight, you called me the most useless child while wearing clothes I purchased, in a house I've kept from foreclosure, before heading to a bridge club at a country club I maintain. The cognitive dissonance is staggering. Tears formed in Mother's eyes, whether from genuine remorse or simple humiliation remained unclear. Madison, I never meant. You meant exactly what you said, I interrupted. The problem isn't your opinion of me. The problem is that I've allowed your assessment to determine my worth while enabling the very lifestyle that reinforces your sense of superiority. Amber reached across the table for my hand. Maddie, I had no idea you were behind the scholarship. Why didn't you tell me? Because it wasn't about recognition, I explained, squeezing her hand. I wanted you to pursue your passion without financial pressure. I just never expected to fund everyone's dreams while being treated as the family disappointment. Ethan cleared his throat. I should have questioned where that money really came from. I think part of me knew it seemed too convenient. Dad finally spoke directly. Madison, I never intended for temporary assistance to become permanent dependence. Your mother doesn't understand our financial reality because I've worked so hard to shield her from it, with your help. That's not protection, Dad. It's deception that's harmed everyone involved. I gathered the documents, returning them to the folder. I've made some decisions. Effective immediately, I'm ending all financial support beyond completing existing payment cycles. You have 3 months to adjust your lifestyle to match your actual income. Mother gasped. You can't possibly expect. I expect you to live within your means like everyone else, I stated calmly. I'll provide recommendations for financial advisors who can help create a sustainable budget based on Dad's actual income. I'm also placing the vacation house in Cape Cod on the market, as maintaining 2 properties is clearly unrealistic. That house has been in the family for generations. Mother protested. And it will be lost completely without significant changes, I countered. The proceeds will clear remaining debts and create an emergency fund for actual emergencies, not maintaining appearances. Dad nodded slowly. She's right, Eleanor. We've been living a fiction that can't continue. Mother's expression shifted from shock to desperate justification. You don't understand the pressure, Madison. My friends, my social circle, everything depends on maintaining certain standards. I've worked my entire life to build this position. No, Mother. Dad worked his entire life building his practice, and I've worked the past 5 years maintaining your social position. You've enjoyed the benefits while dismissing the sources. Something unexpected flickered across Mother's face, a flash of vulnerability beneath her carefully maintained facade. You've never needed anyone's approval, she said quietly. You've always been so independent, so self-sufficient. Ethan needed guidance. Amber needed protection. But you never seemed to need me at all. The revelation stunned me momentarily. I've spent my entire life seeking your approval. Because I withheld it, Mother admitted, tears now flowing freely. The truth is, your independence terrified me. You reminded me of everything I never became, self-reliant, professionally successful, unbound by others' expectations. So I diminished your path because I was jealous of your freedom. The dining room fell silent as her admission hung in the air. Decades of family dynamics suddenly viewed through an entirely different lens. I stood slowly, gathering my purse and coat. I need some time to process all this. I love you all, but I can't continue pretending everything is normal. Amber stood too. I'll come with you. No, I replied gently. Stay and finish dinner with the family. I just need space to think. As I walked toward the door, Ethan called after me. Maddie, wait. We should talk about this as a family. I turned back one final time. We will. But first, everyone needs to acknowledge the reality of our situation. No more fiction, no more pretense. I'll be in touch once I've had time to consider next steps. Mother remained seated, shoulders slumped in rare defeat. Dad stood uncertainly between us, torn between decades of enabling her behavior and recognizing the truth of my words. Madison, he said softly, I'm sorry. More than you know. I nodded acknowledgement before walking out into the cold night, feeling simultaneously heartbroken and oddly liberated. For the first time in my adult life, I had spoken my truth without qualification or apology. The financial ties that had bound us in dysfunctional patterns were finally exposed to honest examination. As I started my car, I realized the confrontation wasn't truly an ending but rather the painful beginning of whatever might come next. Whether that included a healthier relationship with my family remained to be seen, but I had finally broken free from the prison of seeking approval I would never receive. The week following Thanksgiving passed in complete silence from my family. I threw myself into work, grateful for the distraction of year-end projections and client meetings. Trevor provided quiet support, bringing dinner to my apartment without pushing for conversation until I was ready. I'm proud of you, he said simply when I finally shared the complete confrontation details. That took incredible courage. My phone rang on Sunday evening, Dad's number appearing on the screen. I answered with apprehension. Madison, he began, voice uncharacteristically hesitant, I wonder if we might meet for coffee tomorrow. Just the two of us. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe near my office. Dad arrived punctually as always, but something about his demeanor had changed, the confident surgeon posture replaced by a man confronting difficult truths. I've spent the week examining our financial records, he began after we'd ordered. The extent of your support was even greater than I realized. I've been fooling myself along with everyone else. He placed a folder on the table, his own version of financial documentation. I've consulted with a financial advisor as you suggested. We've created a realistic budget based on my actual income. Your mother knows everything now. He sighed deeply. It hasn't been easy. She's alternated between denial, anger, and depression. But for the first time in years, we're having honest conversations. I never meant to hurt anyone, I said quietly. I just couldn't maintain the fiction anymore. The hurt was already there, hidden beneath our pretenses, Dad replied. You simply exposed what we've all been avoiding. I've scheduled appointments with a family therapist. Your mother agreed to attend. This surprised me. Really? Mother agreed to therapy? Losing your financial support left few alternatives, he admitted. But I think it goes deeper. Your confrontation forced her to examine patterns she's maintained her entire life. The facade cracked, and she's struggling to redefine herself without it. We discussed practical arrangements, transferring automatic payments back to their accounts, establishing clear boundaries, my continued relationship with Ethan and Amber separate from parental dynamics. Dad listened attentively without defensiveness. As our meeting concluded, he hesitated before speaking again. I failed you as a father, Madison. I saw your abilities from the beginning but never properly acknowledged them because they didn't fit the narrative I understood, medicine for Ethan, music for Amber. Your financial intelligence seemed somehow less worthy of celebration. I was profoundly wrong. His sincere acknowledgement meant more than I could express. We parted with an awkward hug that somehow felt more authentic than any previous interaction. The following weeks brought gradual reconnection with my siblings. Ethan called first, his characteristic confidence replaced by genuine humility. I had no idea you were carrying all of us, he admitted over lunch. I built this story about my exceptional medical career while conveniently ignoring the financial support that made it possible. You are an exceptional doctor, I corrected. My support doesn't diminish your accomplishments. I just needed acknowledgement rather than dismissal. Amber proved more immediately adaptive. She arrived at my apartment with homemade cookies and tears. I feel horrible, she confessed. All those years criticizing corporate sellouts while secretly benefiting from your success. The scholarship gave me freedom to pursue music without compromise. I should have questioned where that money really came from. Our conversation evolved into regular sister dinners where we built the relationship we should have had all along, mutual respect replacing competitive comparison. Mother proved most resistant to changed dynamics. 2 weeks passed before she reached out, her text message brief and uncharacteristically uncertain, wondering if you might join me for tea on Saturday. I arrived at their home, my childhood home, feeling strangely like a visitor. Mother had aged visibly in just weeks, her carefully maintained appearance showing signs of adjusted circumstances. No fresh salon styling, simpler clothing, minimal jewelry. The house seems different, I observed as she served tea in the living room rather than formal dining room. We've made some changes, she acknowledged stiffly. Your father insists on living within our means now. The familiar defensiveness initially dominated conversation, veiled references to sacrifices and adjustments tinged with resentment. Gradually, as tea cooled an expensive cup she could no longer casually replace, something in her demeanor shifted. I don't know how to be anyone other than who I've always been, she admitted suddenly. The country club memberships, the right address, the perfect appearances, they defined me long before you children were born. When your father's practice began struggling, I couldn't face what that meant for my identity. There are other ways to find meaning, Mother. At my age? With my limited skills? She shook her head. I was a beauty queen who married well. I excelled at creating social connections and maintaining appearances. Without those markers, I don't know who I am. For the first time, I glimpsed the frightened woman beneath the critical mother, someone whose entire self-worth rested on external validation and status symbols. The family therapy is helping somewhat, she continued hesitantly. Your father seems committed to this new transparency approach. Ethan and Amber attend when possible. Would you like me to join sometime? I offered, surprising myself with the suggestion. Relief flickered across her features. The therapist mentioned that. I wasn't sure you'd consider it. I can't promise immediate resolution, I cautioned, but I'm willing to try building something healthier. We parted with tentative plans for family therapy the following week. The session proved uncomfortable but productive, our therapist Dr. Marshall creating space for each family member to express feelings without immediate judgment. Meanwhile, my personal life flourished in newfound freedom. Trevor and I grew closer without the shadow of family financial obligations. I purchased my first home, a waterfront condominium I'd admired for months but previously couldn't justify amid family responsibilities. My career advancement accelerated with undivided focus on professional growth. Therapy continued both individually with Dr. Phillips and collectively with my family. Progress came unevenly, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Mother struggled most with adjusted circumstances, occasionally lapsing into martyrdom about sacrifices before recognizing the pattern. Dad gradually emerged from passivity into more active engagement with family dynamics. Ethan found unexpected fulfillment in community medicine rather than prestigious hospital appointments. Amber supplemented performance income with a music therapy practice serving children with disabilities, discovering satisfaction beyond concert stages. Our first post-confrontation holiday approached with considerable anxiety. We agreed to gather at my new condominium for Thanksgiving, neutral territory with no historical patterns embedded in the walls. Everyone contributed dishes rather than Mother handling all preparation. We ate at my casual dining table rather than formal settings with assigned seating. Most significantly, we abandoned pretense. Mother arrived in a simple sweater rather than designer attire. Dad discussed practice challenges openly rather than maintaining fictional prosperity. Conversation flowed with new authenticity as we carefully constructed different patterns of interaction. The most profound change came during dessert when Mother raised her glass in an unprecedented toast. To Madison, she said, meeting my gaze directly. For having the courage to speak truth when the rest of us chose comfortable fiction. And for giving us the opportunity to become a real family despite our considerable flaws. The moment wasn't magical healing, too much history remained for instant resolution, but it represented genuine progress. For the first time, I felt seen by the mother whose approval I'd sought my entire life. 1 year after the confrontation that transformed our family, we gathered again for Thanksgiving, this time at my parents' home. The house looked different, redecorated with more modest furnishings after they'd sold valuable antiques to establish financial independence. Mother had found part-time work at an art gallery, discovering unexpected satisfaction in knowledge she'd previously used only for social status. Dad's practice operated on sustainable scale, his schedule balanced with time for long-neglected personal interests. They traveled less frequently but more meaningfully, prioritizing experiences over appearances. The dining room table featured my promotion announcement prominently displayed, Executive Vice President at 30, the youngest in company history. Mother had framed the announcement herself, placing it between Ethan's Medical Service Award and Amber's concert program. "Madison," she said as we finished dinner, "tell everyone about your sustainable energy initiative. The concept is fascinating." The simple request represented monumental growth, genuine interest in my work without comparison or dismissal. I explained the investment project connecting renewable energy funding with developing communities, watching my family's attentive engagement. "That's remarkable," Dad commented. "The financial structure you've designed has tangible humanitarian impact." "The Reynolds talent manifests differently across generations," Mother observed, using phrasing that specifically included rather than excluded me. "Ethan heals through medicine, Amber through music, and Madison through financial systems that improve lives." The comment brought unexpected tears to my eyes, validation I'd sought my entire life delivered without qualification. Later, helping with dishes, Mother spoke quietly. "I failed you in fundamental ways, Madison. I defined value so narrowly that I couldn't see your extraordinary gifts." "We're building something better now," I reminded her. "Because you forced us to face reality," she acknowledged. "Your financial support helped temporarily but enabled dysfunction. Your honesty, even when painful, ultimately helped more." Our relationship had found new footing through consistent effort on both sides. Mother occasionally reverted to old patterns during stress, but recognized them more quickly. I sometimes responded with lingering defensiveness before remembering our shared commitment to healthier interactions. My personal transformation extended beyond family relationships. Trevor proposed during a weekend sailing trip, offering partnership based on mutual respect rather than rescue fantasies. My newfound confidence in setting boundaries attracted deeper friendships and more authentic connections across all relationships. Professionally, I maintained ambition without seeking validation through achievement alone. My investment philosophy evolved to incorporate social impact alongside financial returns, bringing deeper meaning to wealth creation. Monthly family dinners replaced obligation with genuine connection. We established traditions honoring each member's contributions without hierarchy of value. Conversations included vulnerability previously hidden beneath perfect appearances. The journey toward healing taught invaluable lessons I carried forward. Financial support without emotional honesty enables dysfunction rather than expressing love. Money cannot purchase the validation I sought, and approval withheld by parents must ultimately be supplied by self-acceptance. The courage to speak truth, even when painful, provides the only foundation for authentic relationships. Most importantly, I learned that my worth never depended on external validation, particularly from those unable to provide it. The painful label of useless child reflected Mother's limitations rather than my value. By confronting this fundamental lie, I freed not only myself but my entire family from patterns that diminished everyone involved. Today, I define success through internal measures, integrity, purpose, meaningful connection, rather than external validation. The financial analyst once driven by proving her worth now makes decisions aligned with deeper values. The daughter once desperate for parental approval now recognizes her inherent value independent of others' perceptions. If you've ever felt unseen or undervalued by those whose approval you seek, know that your worth exists independently of their capacity to recognize it. Sometimes the people we most want validation from are least equipped to provide it. In those cases, speaking truth, even when terrifying, creates possibility for authentic connection previously hidden beneath comfortable fiction. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever discovered you were supporting someone who simultaneously dismissed your contributions? How did you handle setting boundaries with family members? What helped you recognize your own worth when others couldn't see it? Don't forget to like and subscribe if this story resonated with you, and share with someone who might need encouragement to speak their truth. Thanks for joining me on this journey, and remember, your value was never determined by those who couldn't see it clearly.